See, breaking stuff. Good morning. Good morning.
Good
So,
morning.
thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited. This is our first installment of the Childcare Money Meeting of the Minds. So, we're going to just have a real laid back conversation, just like regular girlfriends do. I, of course, am your host, Shanita Jones, CPA. I am your childcare profit strategist. And today we are going to talk about multiple locations. Everyone wants to expand and go bigger, go further, and go faster. And one of the most popular ways to do that in the childcare industry is by having multiple locations. So I have here today a special guest with us. I have here Miss Camelia, and she is out of Largo, Florida, the proud owner of Millia's Little Angels Daycare. And we're just going to have a conversation today. We're going to talk about a scenario. So last week, I sent out an email and you all showed up and showed out and responded. So much so that I said I would pick a few of y'all and we would just come on here and have a conversation. So, Miss Milia, why don't you introduce yourself to us? Tell us a little bit about yourself and Little Angels.
Well, my name is Camelia. I actually became licensed November 12th of 2021. I just had got a first little one January 31st of 22. I am currently licensed for up to 8, including my 2 little ones. At the time, I have 2 right now, but I'm kind of trying to advertise and get more in.
Okay. So that's good. Congratulations on getting started in the
Thank
midst
you.
of a pandemic. It's no easy feat, right?
Right.
So you said that you're trying to advertise and get more in. What's your ultimate goal for your childcare business?
Well, I would like to continue to try to save money, and eventually when God have a plan for me to get a center, he will bless me with that center.
Yes, he will. May he do so expeditiously.
Yeah.
It's real. It's real. If you go to church and they say expeditiously, that's serious business. So may he do so richly and expeditiously.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are familiar with the Childcare Profit Strategies newsletter, if you're not signed up, you can comment below and we'll get you the link so that you can sign up. And this was the scenario. The scenario was I shared the story about a person named Linda. Now, Linda is not her real name, but I guarantee you that a lot of you know Linda, and some of you watching may even be Linda. So let me tell you about a little bit about Linda. Linda owns a childcare center, and she owns a childcare business, and it has multiple locations. Linda is doing the right thing, or so she's trying to, right? And Linda has about 5 locations, and she has one set of accounting, and she has one big fat profit and loss statement. And it shows all of the revenue that comes in from all of her subsidies, all of her co-payments, and it's all on one big profit and loss. And all of her expenses are on that same profit and loss. It doesn't matter if you work at location 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, it's all there. So to the untrained eye, it may appear that Linda is doing the right thing and Linda got it going on because she has her books in order. But the question was, is she doing the right thing with her numbers by not having that visibility and understanding how each center is doing independently? And that's what leads us here today. I sent that question out to our community and we got back some responses. And some of the responses we got back said, yeah, Linda's doing the right thing. It said Linda's doing the right thing because Linda has all of her information in order and something is better than nothing. I agree. Something is better than nothing. But the problem with it is that Linda doesn't know. And this comes from a longer story about Linda. I'm gonna go ahead and share the full story about Linda. So Linda, she has a whole lot going on. So what Linda really should do, Linda is not doing the right thing completely. Linda really needs to know how location number 1 is doing as it relates to location 2. Now, this doesn't mean that she needs to have 5 different QuickBooks accounts or 5 different sets of books, but it does mean that that single set of books needs to be able to be looked at in aggregate, like it is now, where she sees everything, but she also needs to be able to see how each center is doing independently. I used to work with we still work with a client, and she was in a similar situation as Linda, and she was so sure that her primary center was her money maker. That was her baby, her labor of love, her bread and butter. It had the highest enrollment. It had the most community involvement and engagement. So when she started working with us, the first thing I said was, how do I know how much revenue was coming in from here, 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 and here? And for those of you that ever had a conversation about money with me, you know that most of my questions are questions designed primarily to make you think so that you can be better. And this person, she could not tell me for sure with any certainty how much was coming in. Or at one point, she was able to tell, oh, and to top it all off, she would enroll the children at one center for licensing and for her subsidy, but then she would transfer them physically. So one center was getting paid, but the actual bodies and seats were dispersed among her multiple locations. So she really had no idea. She knew where all the children was, of course, but she had no idea what was going on after after the expenses, after all of the things came out of the bank account. So as I was talking to this person, she became a little bit frustrated because she really realized how much of an idea she lacked, how much of an understanding and how much visibility she didn't have. So she was one of the few people that actually had their books in order, but it wasn't detailed enough for her to understand and make good decisions. Well, the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, some tough choices had to be made. We knew that expenses were high because people were keeping their children home. And we knew that money was coming in, but we had no idea to know where the money was coming in from. We shuffling babies from site 1 to site 3 to site 4, site 5, but we had no idea where they belong, how many buildings we really needed to operate, and what we could do. So it took us a while, but we were able to use some of the strategies that we teach, that we use for our private clients, to help her get everything segmented. And you know that number 1 center that she refused to close down because that was her bread and butter, her baby, her labor of love. It turned out that primary location was sucking the life, the blood, the strength, and all the coins out of locations 2, 3, and 4. And this had not started during the pandemic. It had been going on for quite some time, but she had no idea of the severity of it, or even if that was what was going on, because all she saw was one profit and loss. She saw one amount of revenue, one amount for payroll, one amount for utilities, one amount for rent, and she could never put her finger on which center was doing the best. You see, when you have a bunch of people at a bunch of centers, you in a bunch of children, you tend to think that the center with the most children would have the most profit just because they had the most revenue. And revenue, of course, is what's coming in. Profit is what's left over. They're not always the same. So, Camelia, I gotta ask you, how did you know that Linda was doing the wrong thing? Like, what told you that?
Well, I went to thinking about it, and it's like you're supposed to separate things. You can't just include everything in one pot. I don't know how I really came up with it.
That's okay. See, for some of us, these things are intuitive. For others of us, maybe not so much so. You know what I mean? So even to take it a step further, because I know you do have a home child care, to take things even a step further, another mistake that I see people make, especially when they first get started, is they will take whichever child comes through that door as soon as they can because they need to get started.
Mhm.
And most of us are parents or aunties or grandparents, and we've had to take a child to a school or a center at some point in time. And no one really wants their kid to be the only kid. We want our kids to come here so they can socialize with others and have that experience and not bug us all day. Oh, did I say that? So we want the kids to go. So sometimes we think if a parent comes to our center, they might be less likely to enroll if we don't have a bunch of bodies and seats. And you know what? Sometimes that's true, but sometimes we do a disservice to ourselves. So the example that I was actually talking to someone about this morning is our ratio situation. So if we know, and in most states, the infant ratio is usually like 1 to 4, 1 to 5. I think Massachusetts had, and I can't pronounce that, y'all don't judge me. They have a ridiculous ratio, ridiculously high. I think it's like 1 to 10. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If Massachusetts is not high. And if you're watching or catching this on the replay, do me a favor and drop in the comments how many locations do you have? If you have one for right now is fine. If you're not started yet and you don't have any yet, you can drop a 0. And if you have multiples, I definitely want to know that so that we can understand where everybody is in the place so we can include everyone. But if your ratio is 1 to 4 and you accept one child, now let's say on average you're charging $300 a week for infant tuition, right? Maybe they're not full time. Maybe you're just getting started. So you're offering some kind of incentives and you're charging $300 a week. Well, if you charge $300 a week for that infant and you have to pay somebody to work with you and you paying them on the low end $12 an hour after you're paying them $12 an hour. If you paying a person $12 an hour for 40 hours a week, guess what that adds up to? That adds up to $480. And if you're charging $300 for this infant, well, now you already starting out backwards. So you can pay your person, but you can't pay yourself. And the same way, just how that's so clear and easy to understand if you're in a small setting and you're just starting out with a 1 to 4 ratio, if you magnify that across multiple locations and you had this type of thing going on, you can be losing money every time you hand out that enrollment package. If you're not watching these numbers, if you're not tracking these numbers. Now, if you have no children and you need children and you need money, I'm not saying you turn it down, but I'm saying you do need to aggressively implement a marketing plan or 2 or 3. And you need to get these things in place so that you can get your enrollment up, so that you can reach your goals, so that you can be profitable. So when you have multiple locations, it's even more important that things are segmented so that you can understand what's going on. Now, you're not going to go sign up for a bunch of QuickBooks accounts. If you use QuickBooks, let me know. Are you using Xero? Are you using Waze? What are you using for accounting? Drop below. Are you using a spreadsheet? Are you using the prayer and faith method? The prayer and faith method is I'm not using anything. I'm just going to pray and have faith that at the end of the year, when it comes time to file these taxes, that I'm going to have what I need in place. Are you using the prayer and faith method? I know ain't nobody in this community using the prayer and faith method. What you use? I see it in your eyes. Camilla, what are you doing over there? What you doing over there, love?
Well, I haven't found anyone that can do my daycare taxes and stuff. I don't know. I'm just trying to, I got a book or whatever, receipt book.
Okay. So you just getting started. So we're not going to beat you up. We're not judging. Now next year we will judge. Okay. But today we're not judging. No, we never judge. I'm just playing with you. So I'm glad you have a receipt book. A receipt book is a start. So some things that you can do if you're not, always set up yet, is make sure you use that business bank account for everything. Try to avoid using cash, because when you use cash, you have to keep up with receipts. It's not in your bank account. And then when you become ready to actually get accounting records in place, now you have to go back and find all these things. And usually it will cost you more money if you have to, do more of a thing. So if you haven't been doing that already, you started in November, So you only have November and December for last year to worry about. And then you have this year, but we're still in this year. So I do see some people watching with us online. So if you're online and you have any comments, you can feel free to put your comments in the chat box. If you do have multiple locations and you don't have any type of accounting in place, I really need for you to stop right now. If you are considering opening up another location because you want to expand and you want to grow, and you don't know how much you're making at that first location, I'm gonna need you to stop right now. If you are operating one location and you are not fully monetizing and maximizing your space, and you get ready to go get more space, I'm gonna need you to stop right now. I need you to stop. I need you to do a say live stop. I need you to pause. I need you to pause and think about it. And I also need you to make sure you get with a qualified professional that can help you get clarity and see your numbers, because you can't grow your numbers if you don't know your numbers, right? And that's what it's all about. Yes, we're in business because we love the children and we love our community and we want to be difference makers and change agents. But if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to take care of anybody else and be any good to anyone. So if you had to say one thing to Linda, because you a newbie to the game, and real life Linda is an OG, okay? And she is watching. So if you had to say one thing to Linda, that's what we're gonna call her today, because she'll beat me up if I tell y'all her real name. If you had to say one thing to Linda right now, what would you say to her? Or what would you ask her?
I don't know. I probably would I don't know, maybe she need to seek some help, in her business accounts and stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So shout out also to Miss Jennifer Paulo. She replied and she got the right answer. Ding, 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 along with Miss Camilla. Also, we had Miss Gilda, Miss Gilda Gonzalez. She also had the right answer. She said everything is different about it, from the building to the staff, children and taking out and going. Who else did we have? Miss Nakia Chambers, she also knew that Linda was not doing the right thing. Nakia actually took it even a step further. We also had Mr. Jonathan Odushola. And Mr. Jonathan, I will make sure you get a recording of this. He had the right answer, but not necessarily for the right reason. Mr. Jonathan said that Linda might want to make profit and loss in multiple businesses to avoid paying too much taxes, he guessed. So whether your money is in your right hand or your left hand, it's still all your money. And the IRS want to tax all your money that they have access to tax. So it really doesn't matter if it's in the right hand or the left hand, they'll tax it all. But you will be able to see where most of your money is coming from, and you'll be able to see if you need to cut costs and expenses. Even if one center has 100 children and the other center has 50 children. Now, you darn well better have more money in that 100 center, in that 100 children center, right? I hope so. But if you don't, or if whether you do or you don't, being able to see your profit and loss on one sheet still, but side by side, you can see revenue from one, revenue from two, revenue from three, and then you can see the expenses lined up. And you know what else you can see? You can see your profit margin by percentage. So the percentage will show you this center is X amount percent profitable. And let's say it's 30% profitable. That means for every dollar that comes in, you keep $30 in your pocket. But maybe another center is only 15% profitable. And that means for every dollar that comes in, you only keep 15 cents in your pocket. So as a childcare CEO, or any CEO for that matter, you'll be able to look at those profit percentages, and then you'll be able to say, this center is doing better or worse. So regardless of the actual number of children or even your rates in the center, you will be able to see on a percentage basis, and you'll be able to more so compare apples to apples. You'll be able to more so be able to say, well, they're not the same size. And yes, this one may have more money in the bank or more money showing up as being profitable at the end of the month, but this one has a higher profit potential. So when I go to gear my marketing campaigns, I might decide to market more to this center because for whatever reason, this center is more profitable. I might also want to understand, what is this center doing differently than that center? Is it my people? Is it my place? Is it my product, my service product? What are the things that are causing me to be more profitable over here and least profitable over there? Because then once you identify that, then you can begin to strategize and you can begin to synergize and say, okay, this is what's working well. This isn't what's working well. If I'm losing money in one area, then I'm able to even make the hard decisions. Do I need to close this location and move everyone over there? Would it be better for me to just have one location? So not having clear visibility and having everything all lumped together, it eliminates the opportunity and possibility for you to do those things because all you see is one number and all you think is, well, this is what came in and this is what went out. And that's all you know. But if we didn't learn anything else in the last 2 years, we know that the devil is in the details. And we know that's what's going to have the potential to make us or break us. So this is one of the big leaks. And then that's a sneak peek. This is one of the big money leaks that we see in childcare businesses. So y'all stay tuned. We do have something special coming up for y'all next month. I'm going to share with y'all behind the scene my 11 money leaks and solutions to plug them to stop that money from flowing out of your business. But this was one of the email questions in the series that I wanted to go ahead and kind of dig in deep with y'all because I'm seeing it a lot. So I'm so glad that you decided to join in with us and participate back and forth. Did you have anything you wanted to share before we close out? All right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Camelia. Keep reading. Feel free to send any in any questions that you might have.
Okay.
We are always happy, to answer those questions. And then we'll do more of these meetings, these childcare money meetings of the mind. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.